That's what I call pro talk. When you really don't know the answer, you just make it up.
My rut is that I am in a rut.
To get the pilot of Red Arrow going. This is really a way to skip class.
I want to say, hey, those boys right there are entertainers.
There you go. That's the nicest thing anybody's ever said on this podcast.
Alex Rutledge here with American Roots Outdoors TV.
Hey, this is Lee and Tiffany Lukoski from the Crush TV.
Hi, I'm Don Higgins.
This is Jeff Lindsay.
Hey, everybody, this is Mark Drury with Drury Outdoors.
Hey, this is Craig Fitz of Trained Assassins TV. You're listening to Dave and JP on Pro Talk Outdoors, the craziest two I know.
Hey everybody, it's Pro Talk Outdoors, and we've been doing all kinds of different stuff here lately, and particularly 2018 has just been a whirlwind for the whole team. Obviously, we've got more folks than what we've ever had before. We've introduced a spin-off series called Diving Deep, and we've got the Inner Rut Push, and we're doing all these other conservation things on the side as well, and it's caused so many things to be shuffling pieces. It's been really exciting, and I haven't been on the microphone for a podcast in a long time.
It has been quite a while, man. I missed you.
I missed you too. I mean,
yeah.
I went on a trip, had a successful turkey hunt, obviously been chasing stuff around here. We've had some diving deeps thrown in the mix. It's been all over the place.
It's been a really busy time. Been a great spring. You know, we talked about on the last podcast episode, Diving Deep, where we had Todd on there, and and Eric was on there a little bit as well. We talked about our group as a whole, how we had a really successful spring, and in the turkey woods. But that's just the very beginning of spring, and there's so many other things that we're getting really, really involved with right now, and it's really important. And that's probably what we should talk about today.
Oh, 100%. And I think at the forefront of that issue, and what's going to be the crux of this episode, is just getting your herd in the right condition for fall deer season. And if you're not thinking about that right now, you're way behind the eight ball. Not only food plots, but today we're going to center on just mineral and how that can really supplement what you're doing. And I know we've done episodes on it before, but every time we do an episode, more science comes out that backs everything that we've read or what we're trying to accomplish. There's just more evidence that supports it. And when you look at the root of the issue, you got to have the science to really understand what you're going to get out of it.
Oh, absolutely. And I know that we're blessed that we live in a state that you're able to put those mineral sites out and take advantage of those in the summer. Now, you can't hunt over them, obviously, in Indiana, but in Kentucky, you can leave it out year round and you don't have to worry about it. But there's folks in other states, Illinois, for example.
It's a huge issue there right now.
Yeah, it's a big hot topic right now, and it's something that's being battled and waged back and forth, in the state legislature. So hopefully they can get that pushed through, because it does nothing but benefit the overall health of the deer herd. So yeah, I really hope for those guys out in Illinois, and really hope they can get that pushed through, because it's really done wonders for us. I mean, using the Maximizer mineral from Rural Wildlife Products has just been huge. I mean, yeah, I'm excited about, we've got cameras out on the mineral sites right now. We've had those mineral sites going active here for, a couple months or so anyway. And deer are really getting ready to be to the point where they're going to start telling us who they are. We're going to be able to start seeing some headgear and be identifiable headgear pretty soon.
Yeah, I was excited last week just to get over and put some other cameras out in Kentucky. I mean, so far we'd really only had the mineral site surveilled, if you will, had any surveillance on it. So, spread out a little bit. There's enough acres on that property that we hunt that, bucks can travel a certain area and never be seen if you don't put a camera out there or boots on the ground in which to see them. So it was pretty cool to get those put out, and I've managed to avoid the Dave Barrett urge to go over there and check them 10 minutes later.
I'm kind of proud of myself.
You've not gone and checked my cameras?
Yeah, I haven't. I've been, Wyatt and I went over 3 weeks ago tomorrow.
Yep.
Was it 3 weeks tomorrow?
It was 2 weeks tomorrow.
2 weeks tomorrow. Yep. I'm sorry. Yeah, 2 weeks tomorrow. We went over and we sprayed all the fields, everything up top with. We hit it with 2,4-D and with glyphosate. So We have really done a hard kill on everything up there. So,
It
wait
looks
another.
good, by the way.
Oh, is it dying off good?
It looks great.
Good deal. So, hopefully, we're going to be able to go back over there in another 2 weeks. Give it a good month. When you put that 2,4-D down, especially, that's a hard kill, and it's not something where you can go back in just a couple weeks and put your beans out, because it'll kill those bean seeds off, and they'll never make anything. So we're going to give it a good full month to do a good kill off, and then go back in there and drill the beans. And man, we're going to have plenty of food up top for them.
Well, that spearheaded approach with the real world beans and then the deadly dozen, I think, is going to be just an incredible combination. And by everybody's estimation or stretch or judgment, we had a very successful Kentucky season last year as a team.
We did.
I can't see us having anything less than what we had last year.
Don't jinx us.
I
JP.
think as long as we make good decisions, we're going to have even more resources in a year to have managed the property and make it better. The only way we don't have a successful season as a team over there is if we go about it the wrong way and bundle things up, and we got nobody to blame but ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, there's a possibility with some outside influences being negative on us, but for the most part, I mean, we're going to have plenty of food there for them. We've got security. We hunt it the right way. I think we're in for a good season. I really look forward to it.
Yeah, and to me, successful is just consistently getting those mature bucks to travel the areas in which we have access to. I don't even mean by harvest. I just mean having the deer. And that's ultimately what we're trying to accomplish here.
And I know this sounds. Some guys are going to listen to this and they're going to think I'm full of it. They're going to call BS on this.
They probably thought that long ago.
Probably so, but they're going to call BS on this. But we're just now starting from here until like the 1st of September is my favorite time of the year when it comes to whitetails, because we're out there, we're constructing everything, we're putting some effort into it, we're making sure everything's ready to go. Mineral, food plots, surveillance, bucks are starting to, grow their headgear, telling us who they are. Man, that's just fun. That is just absolutely fun to try to figure it all out. And it's dreaming, man. It's like buying a lottery ticket.
Well, I equate it almost to Christmas time. Like as a child, those days leading up to Christmas, you're just so excited. There's all the music playing, there's decorations, people talking about Santa Claus, cookies, all kinds of wild stuff. You're just, oh man, this is going to be so awesome. And then when it gets there, it's awesome. But man, right after it ends, you fall off a cliff. And I level with you that anticipation leading up to it, it's incredible.
Yeah, it's in every card pull. Every time you go pull a card out of the camera,
renewed optimism.
Oh man, I just remember last year, every time that we would have, there were so many deer that showed up there that we in the past I never had been huge on naming deer, because I hadn't had enough bucks that I really felt like I had to name them,
or ones that you thought were going to stick around.
Yeah, plumb necessary last year. I mean, we had so many good deer hitting the mineral sites and hitting the food plots that we really had to, and a lot of those deer, to our knowledge, are still walking around. So
I think maybe what I'm looking forward to the most, even if you just want to take a magnifying glass and hone in on all these things we're talking about, is determining the bucks that have grown and changed but are the same buck from last year, figuring out, oh, that's Whitey. That's Whitey right there. Or
yep.
That's Bull. That's Bull right there. And look how he's changed. It's not just seeing a brand new buck and what he's potentially could be. It's seeing the buck from last year and how he's changed.
And seeing what kind of inches he's packed on.
Even if he's went the other direction, it's going to be really neat to play that little game and puzzle and learn, a little bit more. Because I'm still so new at this to see, okay, how can you exactly tell if that's the same buck? What other things can you look at? Body characteristics, like the short legs we were talking about last year. Things like, just different characteristics, noses, ears. A whole litany of things make it really interesting for me.
It's definitely going to be a treat.
Well, I think without further ado, we can roll on into this segment because I know you and I are hyped about all the things we've got going on, and with the team, why not get everybody else hyped and learn a little bit more about mineral, because each and every time we have Dr. Aaron Gaines on the show, take notes.
He is top-notch.
Class is in session. We'll be back. You're listening to Pro Talk Outdoors.
Before we get Dr. Aaron Gaines on the line, a quick word. about Glacier Coolers. Glacier came on as a sponsor for us and a partner just here for 2018, and the entire team has been using those coolers this summer, while we're food plotting and out shed hunting and everything. And the warmer it gets, the more we really appreciate how great those coolers really are. You throw a bag of ice in there with some drinks, and they're going to stay good and cold for a long period of time. We're talking multiple days even. So if you want to check out Glacier Cooler, they've got a wider range of coolers there that are available on their website. Go to glaciercoolers.com, and when you're checking out, be sure to use the promo code PROTALK, PROTALK. Save yourself an additional 20%. Now, on with Dr. Aaron Gaines.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Pro Talk Outdoors, and Dave and I reminiscing a little bit just about last season and how much fun we had developing a new property in Kentucky and trying to make it flourish and grow and implementing our resources from Real World Wildlife Products on that property. And obviously this year we've got a whole year under our belts, and year 2 is going to see a lot more benefits and everything from those resources. And one of the guys that knows more about that than anybody we could possibly imagine is Dr. Aaron Gaines, who's just at the forefront of helping develop the mineral, the Maximizer mineral that Real World puts out. And Doctor, it's good to have you back on. I think this is the 3rd time you've been on our show, and each time I feel like I learned something. So thanks again for coming on and taking me to school.
All right, sounds good, guys. Thanks for the opportunity, and always a pleasure to work with you guys and get on here and help educate our customers on our products. Thanks a lot.
Before we get into anything, really, tell us about last deer season for you. Did you have a good year?
Yeah, last deer season was actually pretty good. We had a couple hit list bucks on one of our properties, and I ended up harvesting one of those right ahead of our rifle season. And then after that, kind of the next goal was to get my oldest daughter on a buck, and she finally got it done this year and killed a really nice buck. So we got 2 bucks headed to the taxidermist. Actually, a buddy of mine in Oklahoma picked them up during turkey season. So it was a good year. And late season got to do a little bit of an inventory on some deer that made it through the season, and looking forward to this year actually. So as you guys know, this thing's a 365-day-a-year gig, and already started preparing for 2018.
I'm glad you said 365. That's a good number to key in on, and I want to come back to that in a little bit. But one of the things we wanted to bring up is just mineral itself and the momentum, particularly in the state of Illinois, to get it legalized to put out for the deer herds. Some states just don't allow it. Some states allow it in a limited time, and in some states it's just completely wide open game. And how close are you to that movement, or what do you know about how much traction it's really getting?
Yeah, I've been really close to it. Actually went over with the team, and another company was also involved with it, but actually gave testimony to the Senate Ag Committee there in Springfield, Illinois, and we had a really good interaction with the senators there, and was able to get it through the Senate Ag Committee as far as being able to do supplemental feeding in Illinois. And subsequent to that, there's been a meeting with the House Ag Committee. It also passed the House Ag Committee, and right now we're really going back and forth with Illinois DNR on some revised amendments, and also trying to figure out how do we measure success of the program going forward. And our objective of that, as it relates to supplemental feeding, is centered around just improving health of the deer herd in Illinois. And we're hopeful that this is precedent setting for other states that may limit supplemental feeding as well, or don't allow it. So we're pretty excited about it. There's always a hesitation of getting too excited, because you're dealing with a lot of different people and different interest groups, and so we're going to keep plowing ground, and hopefully we can get the state of Illinois back to supplemental feeding again.
Now, when you talk about a Senate committee, that just sounds really big. How many people were on this committee, and how big of a meeting or session is this? I mean, is this something where a lot of people from the public were coming in to view the hearing, or was it just kind of an intimate setting?
Yeah, the Senate Ag Committee, there was I'm going to guess about a dozen senators on that committee, and there was the three of us that gave testimony that were advocating for supplemental feeding, and then Illinois DNR had their biologist on hand to really, counteract, what we're trying to propose as related to supplemental feeding. Obviously, their big concern is chronic wasting disease, and we were just trying to bring. We had a couple of veterinarians and myself, as a nutritionist, really trying to apply some science and logic to the argument of the merits of supplemental feeding in terms of improving, health of the herd. And so it does sound overwhelming, but like I said, dozen senators. There was interest groups from both sides, so it was a good experience. It's the first time I've actually done that, and certainly time consuming, but hopefully, there's a payback, and I hope the people who are listening appreciate the time that's being put into this, by the stakeholders that are really going to bat to get supplemental feeding back in the state of Illinois.
I don't even know if I want to ask this question, but I will anyway. What were some of the arguments against supplemental feeding by the Illinois DNR? I guess I feel like that, from my standpoint and everything that I've heard, read, seen, I don't see that there's any negative to it whatsoever. But I'm just curious of what your thoughts are on what the DNR said and why they would have said it.
Yeah, one of the big concerns with the Illinois DNR is potential spread of chronic wasting disease, and their thinking is with supplemental feeding that you're unnaturally congregating deer. And we had Dr. Shipley there. He gave testimony. I think you guys are aware of Dr. Shipley. He works with us very closely, and his argument, against that is the fact that deer are social animals by nature. He raises whitetail and elk, so he sees them every day, knows their behaviors. Like us hunters, we also know that they're social animals, and they live in groups. They lick each other. They use the same licking branches. They congregate in ag fields, and so DNR's argument kind of gets shot out of water, in terms of supplemental feeding, potentially making spreading chronic wasting disease, just because of the fact that these deer are social animals anyway, and they're interacting already. So that's their biggest concern, is CWD.
Well, that's kind of what I thought you were going to say there, and I figured that was going to be their stance on it. But like you said, I mean, everyone that spends any amount of time whatsoever out in the outdoors and observing whitetails knows that they are an absolute social creature, and they're gonna rub noses, they're gonna lick each other, they're gonna lick the same licking branch, go to the same scrapes, hit the same rubs. They're already doing the same things, making that contact over and over again. So, like you said, I think that argument would kind of be null and void by anyone that actually kind of knew what was going on there, paid attention to the fact of what was going on. But here's another. I
think you just said a mouthful there. I think there's so many people that may be involved in making a decision that aren't really as informed as maybe they should be.
Yeah, and maybe I guess that's the benefit of what you guys are doing, Aaron, is you're spending a lot of time there, you and the other stakeholders getting there and getting the word to them and sharing some knowledge that maybe they otherwise wouldn't have. But that brings another question, though. I mean, how prevalent is CWD in the state of Illinois?
They have, I can tell you here shortly. They've got, if you go to their website, they've got some pretty good information on CWD as far as incidence rate. I've got and I think you can actually download the actual annual report from them. But if you look at the total number of samples their first case of CWD was back in 2002, and the total samples, I think through June of 2017, they had over 100,000 samples, and total positives through that time were 685 samples that tested positive.
Out of 100,000?
Yeah, I think
Wow.
when I calculated the incident rate at that time, they were looking at something less than 1% of CWD positive animals based on the samples they collected. And there's 17, I think, counties in the state of Illinois that are CWD positive, and they're primarily the counties north of I-72.
Where's I-72? Just so
So it basically goes straight across Illinois, kind of Decatur. Basically, it goes through Decatur. Actually, it runs from Hannibal to Springfield. That'd be I-72.
Yeah.
And so it's almost halfway. It's almost split the state in half.
Okay.
And a lot of those northern counties are the ones that are adjacent to Wisconsin. So, just for some perspective.
Okay.
Now, when you're in front of this committee, obviously you spoke. Did Don Higgins speak? Kevin, how many of the group of you guys that were looking to make some traction up there actually spoke in front of this committee?
Yeah, the first meeting that we had with the Senate Ag Committee, it was Dr. Shipley and myself from Real World, and then Dr. Reed Lighting with Analogics was also present. They gave testimony.
Gotcha. So, I mean, how many days, or was it just one day these proceedings go on? And I know I'm asking a lot of questions about the legal side of this, but to me it just feels a little bit important to know that, to really understand if the state is giving it due justice, or if they're entertaining it really. And I mean, was that a long process for you?
It was a one-day deal. We went over and met with them, gave testimony, and the thing I would mention from the feedback we got from one of the senators, it was one of the first times that they had ever went against the Illinois DNR as a state agency.
Wow.
State agency that's charged with protecting the wildlife of the state or managing the wildlife of the state. And so obviously it was a pretty convincing argument that we made on the merits of supplemental feeding, because it was a unanimous vote by all the senators to at least move it forward and take it to the House Ag Committee. So that was really encouraging. And then went to the House Ag Committee. I think there was only one no vote, and that one no vote, that that representative wanted to get a little bit more information. They said that as they get more information, that they certainly could get on board with supplemental feeding, but for now they wanted more information. So, and that's fair.
And
so
what's the next step there?
Right now we're kind of working with. We've got a lobbyist that's helping us push this, and really working with him to negotiate some amendments that we can take back and get it through the House. So we're really negotiating with Illinois DNR and trying to get something that's going to be palatable to everybody. Obviously, it's a lot of back and forth and trying to negotiate something that works for everybody. So one of the things that we're trying to do is get this thing set up where we take measurements, of the animals, do some health surveillance that would include not only CWD testing, but also taking samples from those animals, particularly liver samples, to look at mineral nutrition more closely, because one of the arguments we made during the discussion was the fact that deer in the wild, unlike a pen raised deer, don't always have access to resource. So there's points in time where there's nutrient deficiencies, and so obviously with supplemental feeding, whether it's mineral or complete feed, we're able to better meet the nutrient requirements of that animal. And when I gave testimony to in front of the senators, the argument I made was the fact wild deer are no different than a cow-calf operation in Illinois. When farmers put their cows out on pasture, they supplement those cattle with a mineral supplement because they know the forages will not provide all the nutrients that those cows need. And so why would we not take the same approach to manage our deer herd in Illinois?
Good point. Now, is this something that you're pushing to have go into effect for 2019? What's the time frame that people are looking at for this ultimately to be a success?
It's probably going to be 2019 at the earliest, because I think what they'll want to do is they'll probably want to take some baseline measurements this year and then start it up in 2019. So that's one of the things that we're trying to work through is the timing of implementation if it would pass. But I would say right now it's looking like 2019 at the earliest.
You know, it's amazing to me, and I think that's something that gets lost in the general public or in an anti-hunt movement or somebody who's just a completely neutral, is that there's so many efforts and so many behind-the-scenes things that folks like you guys are doing to better the herd, better the health, better the species. It's not just about going out there and shooting something. So I would hope that folks, if they can't pay attention to this, at least read into what you guys are getting into here, because it's science. It's great stuff. It's conservation. So my hat's off to you and everybody,
yeah.
Dr. Shipley, everybody involved in getting that stuff going.
No, I appreciate it because it's obviously a big time commitment, and we're not getting paid to do it. I mean, we're donating our time to go over there and try to your point, manage the herd, make it better for everybody. And I want to be, clear on one thing is this is not about baiting deer. The supplemental feeding bill that we're trying to get passed would not allow supplemental feeding during hunting season. So it's not going to be, hunting deer over bait. It's basically doing supplemental feeding, during the off season, if you will. But not during hunting season. So I know that's been a concern by some anti-hunters, on the supplemental feeding bill that we're just trying to bait deer and harvest deer over bait, but that is not the intent whatsoever.
Well, I really like the approach and what you guys are going after there. So I'd like to kind of shift gears a little bit here and talk about. It's been a while. It's probably been almost a year since we've had you on the show and talked about anything. But there's been a lot of information kind of come through and a lot of results from not only hunters but some captive deer farmers as well on the results they found out from the Expect Healthy Deer technology in use with the Maximizer products. Can you talk a little bit about what have we learned over the last year?
Yeah, over the last year, it's been really good for us at Real World, as far as the number of customers we've got on the product and, hearing their experiences at trade shows, whether it was hunting trade shows or a couple of the trade shows that we went to within the captive deer industry. And so feedback, from the captive deer industry has been excellent. We have a lot of herds that are on the Expect Healthy Deer technology. Some of them been on it the last 2 years, and then we had some new customers here this past year that used the Expect Healthy Deer technology, and most of them top dressed that product in their deer pens and had really good success. We went on some herds that typically had pretty significant health challenges, and they saw some really nice results. And for this year, new for this year, one of the things we've added to the Expect Healthy Deer technology is our new probiotic. That probiotic is really focused on enteric health, and so a lot of times with diseases like EHD, these deer that succumb to EHD, particularly what we've learned on the pin deer side, is that there's usually some secondary pathogen, whether that's Fusobacterium or Clostridium or E. coli. And with this probiotic, it's basically been selected. We've got 6 strains that are very effective for enteric diseases, or as inhibiting growth of some of those enteric pathogens. And so that's really encouraging. And, we harvested, taken samples from whitetail deer. Dr. Shipley collected isolates, and we've done a lot of screening with the probiotic. And so that really kind of changes the game on the Expect Healthy Deer technology of moving from more of a product that's targeted towards certain points in the year when there's more health challenges to being more of a year-round product for performance and health. On the captive deer side, where a lot of those guys got excited, was actually using it with their does that were fawning. The idea being if they were feeding the probiotic through the Expect Healthy Deer technology, they could reduce Clostridium and E. coli shedding to those fawns and really give them, a better chance of survival.
The equivalent of a prenatal vitamin for women.
Yeah. You'd be surprised on the amount of pathogens that a newborn picks up from their mother during the birthing process. So if she's shedding E. coli and Clostridium, if she's sick and she's shedding, when that fawn's delivered, they're going to pick that up, and so they don't have the immune system in some cases to handle that stressor. So we're getting those does cleaned up in advance of them fawning, and like I said, giving that fawn a better chance of surviving as it comes out. So
one thing that and just I'm going to dumb this down a little bit because I know somewhat about what you were talking about, but there's a lot of words in there that you use that guys like me are going to be like, what? But so I'm going to dumb it down a little bit. But the interesting thing to me is this was done specifically for the whitetail deer. The testing was done specifically on the whitetail deer, and it was created for the whitetail deer. There's nothing else out there like this, right? I mean, there may be something out there for livestock, similar to this with the probiotics, but there's nothing else out there available for the whitetail deer other than what you guys are putting in with the Expect Healthy Deer technology and the Maximizer. Is that right?
Yeah, basically, the probiotic, the microbial strains we're using, we're taken from animals, so they're not from some fermentation process. They were taken directly from animals, and effectively, what we're able to do is take samples from healthy and unhealthy animals, and found that there's differences in those gut, there's differences in the diversity of the gut microflora. And so, being able to take the microbiota from the healthier animals, we were able to identify a handful of strains that offer benefit to inhibiting some of these enteric pathogens. And so, to your point on dumbing it down, the probiotics, what we're trying to do is promote gut health under normal and stressful conditions with this technology.
That sums it up.
It's next level. Next level. I love it. Well, with that in mind, I mean, what's next with that? I mean, is that a building block to something else that you're looking to put out in the market or try to get involved with, or is that something you can even speak to?
Oh, as you guys know, we're always working on, new generation products, and certainly this, probiotic technology is really a good foundation that we can build off of, whether that's going after some other enteric pathogens besides Clostridium and E. coli, things like Fusobacterium, and also, identifying microbial strains that, can improve performance, specifically antler growth. So definitely on the radar, and we're working in that area. And then on the mineral side, we've had some requests over the last year on really putting together a product that is easier to use for some folks in certain states where they have to remove mineral sites prior to hunting season or cover them. And so we're working on a prototype right now. I expect that both you will get that prototype for testing here in June. I think that product's going to get manufactured here in the next couple of weeks, and we're going to be getting, I think, about 80 samples out for field testing this year. As you guys know, we like to test our products before they come to market, so we're going to put it to the test. And
I really like the sound of that.
I do too.
Yeah, we're either going to kill it or it's going to go forward and be a product for 2019. So.
And I really love that. I mean, especially like a state like Indiana. I mean, you know, we have to be very cautious and careful about where we use our mineral sites, because it's somewhere that's going to be completely off limits for us to hunt, because, you know, there's going to be some remnants of that mineral in the ground still, and legally we can't be around it. You know, we just can't. It's off limits for us when we use that product. So this is something that we're going to be able to actually use and then get it out of there, right? I mean,
remove. Yep, use and remove. Yep.
That sounds wonderful. I'm excited about that. Really excited about testing that out.
Yeah, the versatility. That's the thing right there.
Yeah.
I mean, you can touch so many different markets when you've got the same benefits in more versatile ways to reach those markets. It's brilliant.
Yep. And Indiana's a perfect state to test that in.
Yeah. No
well,
doubt.
we look forward to getting you guys some samples, and looking forward to the feedback. Like I said, it's a new product, and you know, we'll put it to the test. And you guys know better than anybody, you know, as we bring these products to market, there's times where if they're not successful in the field, they don't go to market. I mean, we had a liquid product 2 years ago that we tested as a liquid mineral attractant, had mixed results on it, and we made the decision not to bring that product to market at this time. It needed more work. So, and I think you got to appreciate that, of just not trying to push products out here. I mean, it's all centered around quality and products that work. And as hunters, you know, we want products that work, and that's kind of what, you know, Real World's been built off of, is, you know, dare to compare and testing products.
Without a doubt, it's a company, if you see anything for sale that has that label on there,
read it.
You absolutely know that that the testing has been done, and it's going to work, and it's going to benefit your deer herd. It's going to make your hunting much better, and it's just it's part of the deal, you know. That's why we love being where we're at.
That is a fact. And Doc, before you go, what is the best place to keep up with you and the science you're putting into all this stuff, as well as Real World and all of the progress you guys are making in Illinois?
You know, the best way to keep up with us is really through social media. Seems like, you know, everybody goes to social media these days, so Facebook. Also go to the Real World website. You can learn more about products there. Also order products. There's a dealer locator on there, so if you're looking for product, you can go on there and type in your zip code, and it'll locate a dealer closest to you, and so you can get Real World products online, or find a dealer close to you. So
awesome. Great job as always, Dr. Aaron Gaines. Hang with us through the break. We'll give you a thank you. You're listening to Pro Talk Outdoors. Hey everybody, welcome back to Pro Talk Outdoors. What's up, Doc? We got to chat with Dr. Aaron Gaines, and as always, taking me to class.
Wealth of knowledge.
Wealth of knowledge, and yeah, I think you mentioned it really well, using a lot of really big words. And I know I keyed in on 365, and I meant to come back to that and did not. But I think we more or less hit on the central theme of that is, you know, whitetail management is what I like to look at it as.
Yeah.
I don't call it deer hunting anymore. It's whitetail management. You're trying to effectively manage a herd of deer that frequent a property that you either own or have permission to do things on.
Right.
And if you look at it as whitetail management, I think these sorts of things mean a heck of a lot more to you than if you just think about it as some old deer hunt.
You know, I've had this discussion with other people, you know, that you come in contact with just in day-to-day business or life, and they, oh, you deer hunt. Well, they don't realize the depth of what it is that not only us, but a lot of people do, and a lot of people care about it to an extent that it's it's a management issue. It's a conservation deal. You want to 365 days a year. You're thinking about it. You're working on it. You're caring about your deer herd, your land management. Everything goes into it. It's not just a middle of November, grab your old shotgun or your rifle and go out and sit in a tree. We've kind of evolved from that.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to anymore. If you really care about the species, you've got to at least put some sort of efforts into these things. Because if you look at it from just a time spent, if the calendar is your barometer, you're hunting from, in most states, October through December. So October, November, that's 3 months.
Yep.
That means 75% of your year is spent on managing and 25% on the hunting. So it's no longer just deer hunting, at least not for me. And I know that there's a lot of momentum for a lot of guys to really catch on to this and make it management. And I love that.
Absolutely.
And I think that's the central theme of just conservation as a whole. You treat something like your own, and you're going to treat it better. And you're going to leave it better than you found it. And I think that's exactly what Dr. Aaron Gaines and the folks at Real World Wildlife Products are trying to do. And I don't think it's trying anymore. They are doing it. So,
absolutely.
Hats off to him for a great episode. And, hey, man, we got another one in the books. It's awesome. Look forward to the next time. And until then, hook 'em or hunt 'em. Pro Talk Outdoors.
Later, guys.